Shalom. First off, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahar Kodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who have taught us this word and teach us this word today. And I want to give a salutation unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is the brother Yaltazar with the GMS Nebraska camp. This is GMS Endeavor. And in this lesson, what I want to get into is how, this truth was hidden from us for so many years, but it has been reopened to us. And Esau didn't anticipate this. There's nothing Esau can do about it, because this is through the will of the Lord that we have come to the knowledge of who we are today. First I want to start off with this precept here in Psalm chapter 83 verse 2, which says, here, Salakia, let me turn on this do not disturb. It says, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. This is, our enemies toward the Lord. It says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and have consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And there's been an entire scheme that has been set up, an entire web of lies that has been set up and, laid so that our people can stay in the dark, so that we can stay spiritually dead. And we're going to get that precept here shortly in Revelation, where it talks about, us being, dead. We were spiritually dead for a very long time. When we came over here in captivity, Esau, hid who we were. He beat the Hebrew out of us. He forced us to, leave off from our ways. Any remnant of, what we had left of our heritage, he made us leave off from it. And he gave us Christianity. He gave us Catholicism. He gave us white Jesus. He gave us, falsehoods, lies. He made us believe that we were black, that we were African American. Brothers have spoken about for years, the father of African American studies, Melville J. Herskovitz, who was a fake Jew. He's credited as being the father of African American studies. And you have a lot of Jake that's spiritually dead that thank this man for giving them guidance, for showing them where they come from, quote unquote. But really, he was a pioneer in leading our people into darkness. We're not African American. We're not, black. We're none of these things. All these religions that we have been fed are not what we're supposed to be following. And that's, when we read in verse 4, it says, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Us knowing that we are Israelites was no longer a thought for us, And it says, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom. Because Edom, who is the so-called white people, they are, the face of this, crafty counsel. They're the face of this whole, lie that's been set up against our people. But all these heathen nations aren't exempt. When we read on, it says, and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes, Gabal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asher also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Selah. So these Hamite nations, these Ishmaelites, these different nations that's over there in the Middle East today, they have a punishment that they're going to pay for as well. The Moabites, who are the Chinese, and why are they going to have to pay as well? Because they were right along with Esau in hiding our heritage. They knew who we were, and they were hand in hand with Esau and putting us in captivity and hiding who we are. But like I spoke about before, Esau was the face of this. The scriptures say that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, and he covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? And what that means when it says that the wicked covered the faces of the judges, the wicked is speaking about Esau. The earth is given into the hands of the so-called white man today. And he covered the faces of the judges by doing what? By going by taking the scriptures and lying about who these scriptures actually belong to. He covers the faces of the judges by doing what? When you search up God, if you go into your search engine and search up God, if you search up Jesus, if you search up the angels, if you search up anybody that's in the scriptures, who's going to come up? A so-called white man. They've hidden who the true people actually are. Because when you go into the scriptures, it shows in what chapter is that? Either Daniel. Let's grab it real fast. I believe it's Daniel 8. So if it's not 8, it's probably 7. Let me see. No, it's not this. Salakia. Ancient of Days. There we go. Yep, it is chapter 7. Okay. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 9, which says, "And I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit." Now, who is the Ancient of Days? This is speaking about the Most High Yahweh. You know, he is eternal. He has no beginning. He exists. It says, whose garment was white as snow. It's about to let us know what the Most High, what his appearance is. It says his garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. He had woolly hair. What people have woolly hair in the earth? We're talking about Jake. We're talking about Negroes, Israelites. It says his throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels is burning fire. You know, it's a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set and the books were open. When we get into what Yahweh Shai, whom this world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, looks like, let's get into it. Revelation chapter 1 verse 13, it says, "In the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire." So it said that his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow. It's talking about the texture and the color of his hair, and it's the same thing that it explained for the Most High, that he had woolly hair. But when we read on, it says, "And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burn in a furnace, and his voice at the sound of many rivers." Right here is describing the skin color of the Lord as a very dark brown, but this had been hid from us for years, and our people didn't know this. We thought that, our people believed Jesus. Our people believed in a white savior, which had us in a spiritually dead state. As a matter of fact, let's get that. I was going to save that for a couple of scriptures down the line, but that keeps coming up through the Spirit, so let's get it. Revelation chapter 11 verse 8, it says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified." Now, our dead bodies, first off, what is the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt? This is America that is speaking about. It says that it's spiritually called Sodom and Egypt because, let's look at America. How does it embody Sodom? Through pushing the LGBTQ agenda. How does it embody Egypt? By pushing, it was the house of bondage for our people. That's why the scriptures say in Deuteronomy 28 and 68 that we should go into Egypt again by ships. That's speaking about how the Israelites were brought over here in cargo slave ships. And America is symbolically Egypt, because the same way that we were in captivity in Egypt, we were in captivity serving bondage here. And it says that our dead bodies was going to lie in America. Now, this isn't literally speaking about dead bodies. This is talking about us being spiritually dead. We were spiritually dead because we, were a no people. We were called bywords and proverbs, and we believed that we were those things. We had no connection unto our power. And it says, "Where also our Lord was crucified." What does that mean? It means the Lord was X'd out in this place. He wasn't literally crucified, but the image of the Lord was basically painted over. And what was put in his place? White Jesus. Let's read on. It says, "And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half. and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. Right? Because for this entire time that our people were lost, confused, not knowing who they were, no one helped. We were just out here, in dazed and confused. It says, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth. And like I mentioned, all these nations were hand in hand in hiding, who we were. They triumphed over us. They benefited from us. It says, and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. Now this was the transition, because while we was lost, while we were missing the truth, we was missing that piece of who we were. It says that after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them. And what is that speaking about? Hey, we came over here in 1619. 3 days and a half is representative of 350 years, which was in 1969. That's when the truth sprung up from the One West School. And the scriptures speak about this in Ezekiel chapter 11, verse 17, where it says, therefore say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, I will even, let's start at verse 16. It says, therefore say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, although I have cast them far among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come. So we were scattered over here to the U.S., and it says that the Lord was going to be as a little sanctuary. And what was that little sanctuary? What was that safe haven? It was the One West School, because that's where the Lord had the truth spring out of, that was going to wake us up, that was going to put the spirit back in us and make us alive. We were spiritually dead for all them years, and the Lord put the spirit back in us to quicken us. And from that One West School, from our elders teaching this truth, and then teaching our elders, and from our elders teaching us, look where we're at now, where the remnant is being sealed, where now we have a hope. You have the 2/3 that's still out here lost, that's still, believing in all sorts of falsehoods and lies. But you have the elect of our nation that's coming together and being quickened by this truth. And what does it all lead to? It says, therefore say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, I will even gather you from the people and assemble you out of the countries where ye have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel. Because at the end of the day, the Lord hasn't done away with us as a people. He has a remnant set aside that he gave his word unto and quickened, because the mission is what? We're going to be restored as a people. We're going to be put back into our land. And we are living out the process of the elect being made ready for the kingdom right now. And it all started with us receiving the truth. But Esau tried to hide this. Esau thought that he could completely do away with the name of Israel, that he could keep this lie going forever and just reign upon the earth over us. But the Lord didn't allow it. While we were serving a punishment for our wickedness that we did against the Most High, Esau overdid the punishment that has been afflicted on us. The scriptures speak about that. It says, let's get that. Let's get it in over here. I believe it's in Zechariah. Baba Kushah, bear with me. I'm having trouble finding it right now. But the scriptures speak about how Esau furthered the affliction, further than it was supposed to go. And that was Esau doing what? He was exercising his hatred that he has on us. And you can read about that in Ezekiel chapter 25, where it speaks about Esau's perpetual hatred that he has against our nation. He was exercising his hatred and doing evils upon us. And one of the greatest evils that he did was hide who we are. One of the greatest evils that Esau did was try to do away with the remembrance of our heritage, and the Lord didn't allow it. He allowed the truth to come out of that little sanctuary. And so while we were once in a spiritually dead state, the Lord, wouldn't allow us to stay dead forever. Let's get Ezekiel chapter 37 verse 4, where it says, and again he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Now these dry bones is the nation of Israel before we received this word. In that spiritually dead state, it says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. And I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh. And so, let's read about that process of the flesh being brought upon us, of the sinews, of us just being dry bones, but then, the flesh coming upon those bones. It says, so I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came upon them. So imagine, you just have the bone, but then you can see the tissue coming upon that bone, and the cartilage and the flesh forming. It says, the sinews and the flesh came upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. So this is, the beginning stages of receiving the word. We learned that we're Israelites, but the Spirit of the Most High isn't mingled in it, because you have those of the nation of Israel who know that they're Israelites, who have pieces of the truth, but the Holy Spirit isn't dwelling with them to give them the 100% truth. The Spirit isn't dwelling with them to give them that, to bring them to life. Because if you don't have the breath, you're not alive. Let's read on. It says, then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind. Prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus said the Lord Yahweh, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. And what is that breath? It speaks about it in the Apocrypha. Let's grab it real fast. Let's get what that breath is. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 24. It says, for wisdom is more moving than any motion. She passeth and goeth through all things by reason of her pureness. For she is the breath of the power of the Most High, and a pure influence flowing from the glory of the Almighty. Therefore can no defiled thing fall into her. So not only did we know that we were Israelites, but the Lord mingled the wisdom that was needed with that. And now we are where we are today, where for those of us who have the 100% truth, we have the breath in us. Like it spoke about, this happened after those 3.5 days. This was all the way back in 1969, and the Lord has been building up the elect and forming our nation, back to, basically bringing the elect together all the way up till this time. And the elect is being sealed, and once the elect is sealed, well, let's read on. It says, so I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Just like I was just explaining, the elect is coming together. And it says, then he said unto me, son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Now here's the point. It says, therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus said the Lord Yahweh, behold, O my people, I will open your graves, and cause you to come up out of your graves, and bring you into the land of Israel. Because we're going to be restored as a people. We're going to take our land back. We're going to take the kingdom. And so Esau was terrified of us receiving this truth, because Esau knows these scriptures. He knows the truth. To say, to put lies out there, you have to know what the truth is. And so he knew that once we started to receive this word, once we gain our connection to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, that's the beginning of his downfall. And through us receiving this word and prophesying and chanting this place down, that is, you know, through the Spirit, we are breaking down the stronghold that is Esau's kingdom. Through this word going out, through prophecy coming to pass, Esau's kingdom is falling. And he was trying to prevent this from happening, but you can't prevent the will of the Lord. If it is of men, it will come to naught. But if it is of the Most High, it will not come to naught. And this whole operation of us gaining this knowledge of the Hebrew Israelites waking up, this was of the Most High. You know, so what we have to understand is that, you know, us losing our heritage and being disconnected from the Most High was a punishment for the wickedness that we had done as a nation, you know, before, you know. But we are still the Lord's people at the end of the day. And the scriptures say that the Lord wouldn't make a full end of us. You know, we can grab that real fast. Which is Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 11, which says, "For I am with thee, said the Lord, to save thee. Though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure and will not leave thee altogether unpunished." And so us being in captivity to this very day, you know, we still have to be punished and chastised for the wickedness that we've done. This is the judgment that we deserve. But the Lord said that he was going to save us at the end of the day, you know, and he wasn't going to make a full end of us. And what is him not making a full end of us? It's the Lord, you know, leaving a remnant. It's the Lord allowing the Spirit to come upon the elect of our nation, that we may know who we are and that we may be led by the Spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, you know, into the kingdom, you know. And yeah, you know, I believe that's everything I wanted to get into in this lesson. You know, Lord's will, this lesson is edifying. You know, once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Baharachak Kodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS, and a salutation unto the elect. Shalom.